But yes, thank you so much. Welcome, and thank you for joining us today on this very dreary Tuesday. My name is Seth Goldberg. I am the Assistant Director of Individual Giving here at Families First. Just a quick couple of housekeeping notes on today's agenda. First off is that today's discussion is being recorded and will be shared with you in a follow-up email. On our agenda today, we will, over the next hour or so, you will be hearing about our recent findings in our evaluation studies, and then an update on our recent development on expansion efforts. We will be leaving the final 15 or 20 minutes open for any questions that you may have on either topics. So please, I encourage you to use the chat function, not only to provide your reactions to the group for anything that's going on, but also with any questions that you may have. I will be monitoring those and compiling them at the end. So for those of you who may be a little bit less familiar with our work here at Families First, we work with families and parents of children with ages birth to 8 years old to help strengthen their parenting knowledge, skills, and supports. Together with our community-based partnerships, we offer our Power Parenting program and our parent leadership programs to ensure that all parents can fully engage in their children's learning and development, as well as bringing their lived experience to advise and improve their local institutions and policies. We are increasing just so you also know, we are increasing our alumni services and resources to further support parents through the many transitions of early childhood and parenting in general. So I will now turn over the controls to Samantha Benavides-Walsh to review the results of the evaluation study she conducted on the Power Parenting program. Samantha is currently pursuing her PhD in Applied Developmental Psychology at Suffolk University after earning her bachelor's degree from the University of the Philippines and her master's from Boston College. We at Families First have been lucky to have her as both a collaborator and an intern for the better part of 2 years now. Samantha, thank you for all of your hard work here, and the floor is now yours.
Great. Good morning or good afternoon, everybody. I will share my screen. So good morning. Today I will be sharing with all of you the results of the Identity Map study. My name again is Samantha Benavides-Walsh. I'm a rising third-year PhD student at Suffolk University's new Applied Developmental Psychology program. And like Seth mentioned, I was an intern for Families First just this past year. So some of you might be familiar with me if you've seen me on some Zoom calls. So the ADP program, I just wanted to talk a little bit about the collaboration between Families First and the Applied Developmental Psychology program at Suffolk University. We have been very excited to collaborate with Families First on the Identity Map project. And this partnership between Suffolk University and Families First started a couple of years ago in order to bring additional expertise and outside guidance on key components of the evaluation work that Families First does for their programs. So working with an academic institution not only allowed Families First to incorporate a more academic/research perspective, but also gives us an external look to validate the work that we do rather than this only coming from inside, right? So this partnership and this research project was also a way for us to move towards being more evidence-based or getting that evidence-based status, which is a category for programs that puts them into a more credible status and helps us to be more an established program. So this will help with funders, and this raises also the visibility of the program. So in short, we wanted to show through evaluation that the Power of Parenting program does impact the parents and the families that we work with. For this presentation, I will only focus on one part of the evaluation that Ashlyn and Karen and Maureen does for the Power Parenting program, and that is the identity maps. So the evaluation plan does also include more traditional measures. We do several surveys And all of these are grounded on the same protective factors framework that the program curriculum is founded on. So if you have any questions throughout my presentation, feel free to put it in the chat. Someone will be monitoring it, and we can answer all of that at the end of all of the presentations for today. But before we get to the study itself and the results, I wanted to give a short introduction on what an identity map is, for just as a refresher for those who've already maybe seen this, and for anybody who's new to Families First. So an identity map are parent drawings of how they saw themselves as a parent before the program and today. So these are self-reflective drawings that parents do usually at the 10th or the 11th session, which is towards the end, right before graduation. So we, aside from have them drawing how they see themselves as a parent, we also have an open-ended question where they're asked how their parenting has changed due to the program. So this is a qualitative tool, and this is more open-ended, different from other measures. Usually we will ask them like to rate from 1 to 5. So this is more open-ended, and we wanted to use something like this that will allow parents to express themselves and answer the question however they wanted to. So one exciting thing is that not a lot of people actually use visual data to evaluate programs, and not exactly sure why, because I personally think this is such an amazing tool to use to see how their perspective on the changes that have happened because of the program. So this is very interesting, and as you will see, we also got very interesting results. So what was the aim of the study, or what were we trying to see? What did we want to see? So this was our kind of like overarching question for the study. So from the parents' perspective, what were the changes they experienced because of the program? So when we talk about changes, these can be about their parenting, maybe their relationship with their children, and maybe if they saw changes within themselves. So I also wanted to maybe give all of you a feel for what we did in this study. So I want you to look at this identity map, and I will give you around like 5-10 seconds to maybe put in the chat, what do you see, what stands out in this drawing? So just put all of those in the chat, and then I can also tell you what I see. Okay, yep, so someone said it seems like it's from negative to positive, high stress, ready to explode. There's calm, stress, and then calm, impatient to patient. So I love all of these, and these are definitely things that we also saw in this drawing. So we definitely looked at, the colors that they used. So we can see that they used like the red color and the orange and like the yellow, which I think like put together, especially with the drawing of the bomb, kind of looks like, it's very stressful. But as we can see in the next one, it's very different. The parent has a calm face, and there's a rainbow in there and there are hearts. So just looking at these drawings, even before you see what they wrote in the narrative, actually already gives you an idea of what they saw within themselves, or the changes that they saw. So for every drawing, we took note of specific elements. So we took note like, oh, there was a bomb. The parent had a smile on their face. And then also the overall feeling that we got, or kind of like an interpretation of what was the feeling. So again, like you all mentioned, there was the first drawing seemed stressful, and versus the second one, it was more calm. And we also took note of those differences from before and today. And we figured out very quickly that these parent drawings are very varied. There were a lot of differences in what the parents drew, maybe like the concept. Some of them were similar, but there wasn't really, there weren't ones that were exactly the same. And yeah, so that was just an overview of what we did. So now let's look at what were the 4 themes that we found. So these are the themes that we saw repeated throughout the identity map. I will preface this with saying that not all of these themes were seen in each and every drawing. Some of them had 1, some of them had 2, maybe even more. But again, some of these were more prominent than the others. So the first was there was knowledge learned from the program. There was shift of emotion. There was family closeness, and then connectedness to the group. So I will go through all of these one by one and show you an example of identity maps that we saw that had this theme. So the first was knowledge learned from the program. So parents expressed that the program has taught them new techniques and ways of relating with their children. So this includes improved communication with their children. Maybe they say that they learned stress management techniques, and they learned also more positive approaches to disciplining of their children. So parents also depicted specific lessons that they learned from the program, and one of them was very interesting for me, which was including setting rules on TV time and playing more with their children. As you can see from this drawing, the parent expressed that, in the before, they said that they were angry, they were yelling and violent. And the next one they said that they learned to do dialogue with their children, to negotiate with their kids and to talk and to, do less of the yelling. And also learning to listen to their children. So, yes, and then the next one was the shift of emotion from before to today. So negative emotions such as stress, frustration, and anger dominated the before drawings, whereas more smiles and other depictions of happiness and affection, like hearts, can be found in the today drawings. A few ways that they've done this as well is by using color. So as an example, in this drawing, you can see that the parents used a dark color. So we kind of said that in the before, there were more dark and moody colors. And then today, there were brighter. And sometimes, usually, there were more colors as well in the after. Aside from using color and facial expressions, they also used weather, which I thought was very interesting. They used weather as an indication of the emotion of the drawing. So for example, they would use tornadoes to denote, for example, like stress or frustration, or rain clouds and storms. And in the today, there were a lot more sun, it's sunnier, there were rainbows, and more they also used nature, there were more flowers. So those were just some of the ways that they depicted a shift in emotion. And then for family closeness, so parent and children figures are drawn physically closer in the today picture compared to the before. So this could indicate spending more quality time together and having a closer relationship because of the program. I really like this example of this drawing for family closeness, because as you can see in the first drawing, the parent and the child were kind of paying attention to different items. So the parent was paying attention to what looks like a stove. So maybe they were doing chores, and the child was paying attention to the television. But in the today, you can see that they were actually looking at each other, and they were attending to the same thing, and they were attending to each other. They were interacting with each other and not doing separate things. So they were both looking at the child's drawing, right? And aside from that, another indication, that they kind of also learned something. There was no television, right? There was no technology. And I know that that's one of the things that in the curriculum, we talk about, technology used with children. So. And then the last one is the connectedness to groups. So this theme came out a lot more in the narratives that the parents wrote down. In this example, they said that they had more help with others. So coming to the group, I was able to get help with other moms, having and getting other opinions. So many parents noted that getting and giving advice to other parents, presumably from their cohort, from their group that they do the program with, was valuable. So it was also valuable that they weren't just, listening to the parenting educators, but they were also learning from other parents. So parents expressed learning that they were also not alone in the struggles through the program. So this also indicates the value of the program's potential to increase the sense of social support. So the program is set up in a way that encourages discussion and participation from all the caregivers. And as we know from the research, social support is actually very important to buffer from the stress and isolation that parents may feel. So as I said, this is just one of the steps that we're taking to move towards, becoming that evidence-based program or getting that status. And some of the things that we do hope to do with the results of this, so the study is still, ongoing. We are still looking at the drawings, especially in relation with the quantitative data. That's something that I am still working on. And aside from that, we want to disseminate the results through publishing in peer-reviewed journals, hopefully within this year, and presenting at conferences, again, to show that, the Power of Parenting program does work and it does impact our parents. And we actually just presented a poster on this exact thing at the Society for Research on Child Development conference back in April. And I think that that was very big for us. So just a few takeaways from my small talk today. The results reflects the 5 protective factors that are proven to lead to quality child outcomes. It also reflects the curriculum and the group experience that parents get from the program. And lastly, these results also reflect what the field says are predictors of positive outcomes. And so if you have any questions, please put them in the chat, or if you would love to talk more about the specific project, I will put my email in the chat so you can email me. And yes, I will now bring it back to Seth.
Well, thank you so much, Samantha. That's fantastic. It was great to hear what you had to say. And looking at the chat, you definitely got some great reactions and already a couple of questions coming in. So looking forward to answering those in just a few minutes. But first, we will turn it over to Magda Rodriguez, the Director of Programming here at Families First, and Sue Kovitz, our Executive Director, to provide an update on the expansion efforts currently underway here at Families First. Thank you.
Thank you, Seth. Appreciate that. And thank you, Sam. It's exciting to see the evolution of our evaluation work. It has been, I think, a journey that we've been on for a while, and the recognition that I think we are moving towards building our evidence base is important. And I think the partnership in particular with Suffolk has really made a difference in our ability, our capacity, knowledge base to really move this forward. So appreciation for that, and for the folks who are on the Zoom call today to know that this partnership continues. We have a new intern joining us this year. So it's exciting to see this all unfolding, and I look forward to the sort of results as we move it forward. And I also just briefly want to acknowledge Ashlyn Speck, Karen Osborne, Maureen O'Brien. They're all on the call today, and they are critical folks on that team that have spent a lot of time on the evaluation work. So thank you to all of you for joining us today as well. So Magda and I are happy to be here today. Exciting to be able to share another development in our work. Those of you who there are a couple board members here who heard some of this last night, so there'll be some repetition, but we wanted to come forward to share with all of you a little bit more about the new opportunity that we have been engaged in with EEC. For those who don't know, EEC is the Department of Early Education and Care. They are the statewide entity, and they receive funds that are distributed out to the state to work with often local Head Start programs and other early childhood centers. This is a big moment in time for Families First, because we have never really been the recipients of such a large statewide contract. It also reflects, I think, our work to expand our programming across the state. And so with all of that in mind, it seemed like it would be an opportunity to share that with you and get any questions that folks may have about this work. Magda is the lead as the Director of Programming on this work. She and her team have already moved quite a bit to launch this work, and it is underway, as you will hear in a minute. And I'll just say briefly that there is a lot of focus on early childhood right now. It has to do with the administration changing at the federal level, certainly, but also I think this was a long time in the coming for those of us out there on this call who are longtime advocates. Etta Rose and I know too, and others, who have always known that early childhood is so critical, as we think about about brain development and the role a parent plays as a child's first teacher. It's quite critical to be investing, and I'm glad to see that happening across the public and the private sectors. So this is a reflection in some ways of that, that there are opportunities now. It also reflects the fact that Families First has increased in visibility. We run 2 programs, the Power of Parenting and Parent Leadership Program, that are gaining visibility and recognition. And in this case, we were actually approached by EEC to launch this work. So we are extremely excited to be able to share it with you today. I'm going to scroll through as you heard about the mission. Seth shared that, and turn it over to Magda, who will share more about the program itself.
Thank you, Sue. And again, it's nice to see everyone this afternoon. And we are really, really excited. And I feel honored and a privilege that the commissioner for the early education at CURE, the department, was impressed by our work, and that we were selected to pilot this initiative across the state. We are using the same approach that we were using for our parent leadership program last year. We piloted last year community impact projects. We were placing parent leaders at agencies, and they were developing projects that were changing systems and elevating the voices that parents played in communities. So the goal for this project with the early education and care is that they call it the Family Ambassador Program. It seeks to strengthening the family engagement capacity of Head Start and CFC programs and their parent leaders. So it is a dual capacity approach. And the goal is that they implement together effective and inclusive practices or policies that impact families in their community. So that's the overall goal for this project. And again, it just aligns with the same goal that we have for our parent leadership program in the community back projects. Next slide. And I know that you guys may have some questions, so I know we will have those questions answered by the end of the presentation. So feel free to write them in the chat, and we will come back to those questions. So just the overview of the project. This is a contract of $130,000. A good portion of this money also goes back to the parents and the community. I heard that this is one of the largest stipends and gift cards that the department is giving back to the parent leaders, and we're really happy because we believe in that. We think we should honor their time and their expertise. So that's a component of this contract will go back to the communities. As we mentioned, this is a statewide project. We have 2 phases, and in the first phase, we will work with 20 agencies, and I want to report that up today, we're so close to have those 20 agencies applying. So we're excited about that. And in total, we will be training and engaging with 60 parent leaders across the state, or family ambassador as the agency calls them. For this type of work, we will do it virtual delivery. It will not be in person, but it will be virtually. And as I mentioned, there's scope. We have 2 phases. Phase number 1, we will have family ambassadors offer trainings, 4 sessions, for the series. And then we will be working with those agencies and parent leaders to have some community impact projects. For this type of community impact projects, we will select 10 agencies out of the 20, and we will engage around 20 to maybe 35 parent leaders on phase 2. You can go to the next slide. Just for you to have a little bit of understanding of our timeline, on May 25th, we launched the program officially. We sent emails to all the agencies across the state and open the application process. We are hoping that between August 18 and September 17, we will be offering the trainings for parent leaders. We are hoping to have 3 different series, and we are hoping also to have them in English and/or Spanish. On September 3rd, we will start selecting who are going to be the community impact project agencies, and we will launch that phase. And hopefully by April 1st, we will start wrapping up and having focus group We will be reporting back to EEC and evaluate the impact of this project, for agencies and parent leaders as well. Next slide. We also would like for you to understand that the way that we are doing this program, we don't want to add something new to the organization. We want to use the tools, the resources, the program that already existed, and we want to use that in with a different model of delivery, but a similar foundation and programs. So the similarities between these two projects, the PLP Boston is the Parent Leadership Program. Just briefly, last year we have two areas, the Chelsea's Boston area and Boston area. And in those two areas, we graduated last year, just this year, in June, 10 parent leaders. And they received trainings, and they also work with agencies in their communities to work on community impact projects. So the similarities are that for the Parent Leadership Program in Boston, as well for the EEC, we will be offering trainings, and the trainings are very similar, and they are seeking to equip parents to be able to be seated at the table and have the confidence and the skills as communication, parenting advocacy, and systemic thinking to really continue contributing and helping to change their communities. Also, the similarities is for both programs, we will be doing community impact projects. The difference is that for Boston, we will be doing virtual and in-person trainings, depending on what happened, in the next coming months. For the EC, all of the trainings and support will be virtual. In the Boston area, we will have direct staff supporting, like the area managers, the parent and partner relationship managers will be supporting and working closely with the agencies. For the statewide, we will be doing technical assistant. For the Boston, we still using one-on-one ambassadors who coach and give mentorship to our ambassadors. And we also have cohort meetings with them. They meet monthly as a team. For the EEC statewide program, we will be doing monthly learning sessions, and we will want them to either ask questions to the team or learn from each other, from their successes. So we think it's very rich to have that opportunity for them to learn from each other. And I think that's the end, Sue. We will go to the next slide, but I think it's the end of my portion. And I will let Sue to finish with some thoughts that we have about what can we learn from this.
Yeah. So before we turn it over to the question and answer portion, I just want to mention briefly the sort of overall rationale for this work. I think things that we're looking to better understand by launching this is, does it work to scale trainings this way? Is that successful? How successful? What's the impact? Can we coach, this should not say prove, should say provide technical assistance on the community impact projects? It's a different model for us. As Magda suggested, we were in person for that, and have provided a great deal of scaffolding and support on the ground. This is a modified version of that and providing it virtually. So we'll be interested to see how that goes. And are there sites, locations that would be interested in both the power of parenting and parent leadership? I think, as some of you know, most of you know, there are two programs we run, and the power of parenting is the parenting side. This will give us a better understanding of what these sites are like out in communities we don't know as well, using, as I'm sure Magda has some examples of communities that have already put in applications, but, I know, for example, there was even a community that was interested on the Cape. And so, are these communities, is that a fit to sort of consider deeper expansion? So we'll be looking at that. I think that another area is working more closely with Head Start programs. They're, are programs we've always thought would be a good fit, and we have worked with a couple, but never to scale. And so I think there's a lot of sort of significance and work that we can do to learn about Head Start and their parent leadership model and how we can support that work. at a local level. So that's a little bit more about what we hope to learn from it. There's probably a lot more we could say. And I want to just end really by saying that I think this is an incredible opportunity for us as we move forward, both taking advantage of an opportunity that's in front of us for funding, but also to continue to look more closely at virtual programming and that delivery methodology, because I think it's new for a lot of us, but it has certainly allowed us to reach more families. You know, we've come to this group before to share that operating with virtual programs has actually led to similar outcomes, which is a positive result. And also there are families and parents who have indicated along the way, as we've checked in with them, that it's made it easier for them if we provide programs virtually for, you know, a lot of obvious reasons: transportation, weather, you know, getting kids, you know, wherever they had to be into a setting where folks are, you know, having to kind of make another adjustment and transition in the evening, et cetera. So, you know, it doesn't mean we won't be continuing next year. We do plan to hopefully bring back some in-person programming, but this is a unique opportunity for us to really test this out, also scaling our work and learning about new communities. So we could not be more excited about that. You all know how to reach us. Yeah, go ahead.
No, I know Judith pointed out that I didn't introduce myself, so I just wanted, maybe with this slide, is that okay? So, you know, I just want to briefly say that I am the director of programming at Families First. I have been with the organization for 8 years. I am a long-time advocate on family engagement, and also I am part of the advisory board for the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education on the family engagement. So for me, this is really a passion, of course, of mine, and just very thrilled to really start this work as well. So thank you for allowing me to introduce you. Thank you.
Yeah, no, I'm glad you did. And just to say that, you know, we're fortunate to have an incredibly strong team at Families First across the board, up and down, left and right. We've got, I see a number of folks on, parent ambassadors, you know, folks on the evaluation team, folks on the finance and administration side, and programming, along with development. So Magda brings a wealth of expertise in this area. It is fitting that she's leading the charge on family engagement, given her background and passion for the work. And it's truly exciting to see this opportunity, you know, as a way for us to scale. So turning it back to Seth, who will moderate, I think, the chat. Go for it.
Absolutely. We've already gotten some great questions, but certainly send them to me, send them to the group, or raise your hand and unmute yourself. But yes, so the first question that we found in the chat was for Samantha. Are both drawings done at the same time, or is one done at the beginning of the program for the identity maps?
Yeah, so for the identity maps, both drawings are done at the same time. Yes. Was there a specific question regarding that, or was that just the question?
That was the question.
Okay. Yeah, so both drawings are done at the same time at the 10th or 11th session, depending on which curriculum the parent is in. And I'm pretty sure we have done it both ways before, and I think this has worked out the best from our, yeah.
Fantastic. And another question was, how many identity maps did you review during your study, and over what time frame?
Yes, so I did around 112 that we looked at, 112 identity maps, and this was identity maps from FY18 to FY19, so that's from July 2017 to June 2019.
That's fantastic.
Yes, Seth. So I think there was another question right after the, and it was about the protective factors framework. So, the protective factors framework is a framework put out by the Center for Study of Social Policy. So this reflects what decades of research has shown, again, are key ingredients for positive family outcomes, as Maureen has already said in the chat. So the 5 protective factors are parental resilience. So this can look like managing stresses, social connections, knowledge of parenting and child development, concrete support in times of need, and child social emotional development.
Fantastic. And then Sharon just asked in the chat about, is the ADP evaluating other parenting programs? You referenced another tool besides the identity maps. Could you go into that?
Yes, so we are not evaluating any other parenting program. This is a partnership that is specifically with Families First. And I think I would want to turn to the other evaluation members. Maybe Ashlyn or Karen can talk about the other tools aside from the identity map that we used or currently using.
Sure, I can talk about that a little bit. So any of you who have been with us for a while know that we do some parent surveys. So we ask parents about their experiences during the program. And we actually just at the start of FY21, so almost a year ago, switched to some new tools for those parent surveys. So we switched to using some scales that are more evidence-based that have been used for other parenting related programming. And one of them is called the Protective Factors Survey, kind of covers the things that Samantha was just talking about. And another one is about parents' levels of stress related to their parenting. So we recently made that switch, and it's a switch to pre-post design so that we can really capture parents' experiences better. So we're very excited to be partnering with Suffolk to kind of continue to improve our evaluation and hopefully really be able to prove our impact with even more certainty on the evaluation research side.
And I'll just
Thank you.
sorry, Seth. I'll just add that previously to that switch, we were evaluating very similar concepts in terms of the protective factors and stress, but that was a strategic decision, as Karen mentioned, to elevate it to have more validated measures in order to do the research study and evidence-based. So we've been assessing the similar items, and that is consistent with what the identity maps measured too. But we're excited as we continue to work with Suffolk on this next research study we're doing with this tool.
Fantastic. And just for everyone else, Ashlyn is the Associate Director of Programming and Evaluation, and Karen is the Evaluation and Programming Coordinator. So thank you both for chiming in. We appreciate that. One more question from Chin before we answer some of the expansion questions. Is the identity map used in virtual parenting program in 2020 and this year?
Yes. I can answer that. I mean, I believe we did not do the identity maps for the virtual program, but yes, does maybe Karen or Ashlyn want to say more about that?
Yeah, so we made the decision as we switched to the new tool at this point, we're doing the research study, to not do the identity map. That being said, we do plan to incorporate it as we go back into in-person in the next year for at least some of our sites. We find that it's not only a great tool for evaluation, as you've seen, but it's actually really a great programming tool that we use as well, and that parents are able to use it as a reflective exercise during the program. I think we've heard it doesn't feel like they're doing research or evaluation, maybe like a survey does that we do as a part of our program, but it's something they can really reflect. So it's something that our parenting educators, our facilitators, have also asked about and love as a tool that they're able to use. Since we do it at the end of the program, it's a really great way for them to look back and reflect on their experience as a whole. So we don't plan to lose it. We plan to bring it back, but as you can imagine, doing it virtually is a lot more complicated. So as we go back in person, we definitely are hoping to launch that again.
Sure. And then we did just get one more question on the identity maps about what tools and criteria do you use to score the identity maps, and then we will switch over to the evaluation.
Yeah, so this was a lot of actually just looking at the drawings. As I said, not a lot of people have used like drawings, visual tools to evaluate programs. So we kind of had to figure out how to do this. And we didn't necessarily like score the identity maps. We definitely took note of the different drawings or the different items that they drew, maybe the facial expressions, and then again, more of the feeling or the overarching kind of like theme in each of the drawings. And so we took note of that. And then across all of the drawings, we looked at what was the most common, what was repeated from all of these. What did we see was the most common? And if anybody wants to talk more about that with me, I would be very happy to talk more about that. And I will put my email in the chat so that you can ask me more questions about that.
Seth,
Fantastic.
can I add one thing? I know we're going to switch to expansion, but I think that the context is important, which is this initially came up when the, I'm the director of curriculum and training here at Families First. This initially came up as a key tool when we were working with families several years back, and we partnered with the Harvard Graduate School of Education. They had some grad students and a professor that was specifically looking at thematic art and how you can use it as a tool, both, as Ashlyn said, for reflection and also for evaluation. And so while there wasn't a strict rubric that cut across programs, there were suggestions of the ways to code it and the value of it. And it's used a lot in therapy, sort of more in non-academic research is where the art coding has really taken off. And so they suggested that it would be a really good opportunity to bring it into this venue. And so it was really the idea for it stemmed from that. And what Sam and the coding team of undergraduates did was codify it for our particular program. So, you know, it's really just kind of an innovative way to get at parental experience that will supplement all the great quantitative data that we do in our surveys. So I hope that's helpful. Sorry, Seth.
No worries. Well, it's always a pleasure to hear from you, Maureen. So thank you so much for jumping in. Certainly keep those questions coming. We can always revisit this, but we did just get a great question for the expansion. Can you give an example? Sorry, can you give an idea of a community project in the statewide program and what kind of engagement the parents trained will have in the community?
I can answer that question. So we are not in that phase yet where people are, you know, they need to fill out an application and write a little bit about what projects they are looking forward to implement. However, we are using the new release family engagement framework that the, you know, 4 agencies across the state release. It's called Strengthening Partnerships. And a lot of thinking about what we did this year, also with Families First and other agencies, and we are looking again for system change. Some of the potential projects that may come out are like developing a need assessment to understand the current practices, strengthening, you know, the parent advisory was another project that we did this year, or creating a new advisory, engaging more families. So we don't have again yet because the application has not been open. But we are looking again for this framework and looking for projects that are making the community stronger or improving the family engagement practices.
Fantastic. Thank you, Magda. Another question that I just received was on the expansion. You mentioned that we were approached to do this work. Is this different than what we were than what Families First was planning on doing for expansion?
I can answer that. So much has, you know, we step back and say change is a huge aspect of our field in general, and now more than ever. So I think as we had moved through the first change for the organization, which is the impact that COVID was having on families and on our programming, you know, we were sort of navigating that first, and that was quite a hurdle that we, I think, successfully navigated. During that same time, which is about a year ago, we were also finalizing a new business plan. And for several months after, we continued to sort of look at the opportunities in front of us, saw expansion perhaps potentially as moving forward geographically into new communities. That was certainly in some ways organically happening. We were expanding our work Chelsea and north and of Chelsea, so Everett, Malden, Revere, those areas. And we were considering, what it would look like to take our programming to a new geographic community. So that was what was sort of in front of us a year ago. But as I said, because of COVID, as many things happened, there was a new sort of fork in the road, and that was the opportunity to think about virtual programming and how that might change some of our plans. Fast forward 6 months into the year, 7 months into the year, the parent leadership work, some aspects were new, the community impact projects in particular. And we were starting to get some attention for that because I think there's an incredible amount of focus, as it should be, on thinking about the systemic aspects of challenges families may face. And it really was becoming quite clear to all of us in the field that parent voice was missing at a lot of the tables where decisions are made that have a direct impact on families. And so our work was starting to get some attention for that reason as well. And then with the arrival of new funding, the EEC, as Magda had mentioned or has mentioned in the past, saw some of the work and heard about some of the work that was happening with parent leaders who were engaged at the Department of Public Health. And that caught the attention of EEC. And so they came to us to say, we'd be interested. If you want to apply for this, you can. And then we received the contract. It was a competitive bid. But we did, I just want to reassure everyone, we did a SWOT analysis and took a close look at some opportunities as a leadership team to see what made sense. This was an adjacent move that we could make. I think I used this term last night at the board meeting. We zigged and we zagged in a way that I think was important for the organization to take advantage of an opportunity that would answer some questions for us, give us exposure to new communities, and continue to test out the virtual delivery system. So if you asked me a year and a half ago, would I have envisioned all of this? Probably not, but I also wouldn't have envisioned the challenge of COVID and the pandemic on an organization and all the families with whom we are engaged. So it has been an incredibly, I think, exciting time, but also a challenging time. And, our job is to meet families where they're at and to find ways to be able to bring programming and support, especially during a critical time like this. And so, here we are with another opportunity to continue to do so. And as we discuss all the time, it links back to our mission that, I think is important to really be able to do when you're launching new programming. And here we are. So that's the answer for that.
And I want to that Sari said that actually Chin have been with us for like almost 3 years, and Chin last year was the parent ambassador mentoring 3 fellows who were doing projects in Chelsea and East Boston, and we actually have also Juana who was one of our fellows at Families First. So again, it's a lot of people have been talking about our approach to the parent leadership and seeing parents that are also strengthening their homes and their child relationship, but also are taking this next step in impacting the community. So then I just want to honor Chin and Juana that are here with us today too.
Yes, Juana was actually one of 2 parent fellows who worked with us on the development team to do events and other communications. And we can say firsthand how great the parents and the fellows have been. So thank you both Jenna and Juana for joining us again today. Again, please let me know if you have any more questions. But we will first ask, Sharon just asked a question. Chin and Juana, I know you weren't officially part of the program, but if you are willing, Would you mind sharing how sharing your experiences with with our programs?
I can go first. My name is Ching Li. I'm a parent of 2 boys, and we settled in Revere. I joined the Power Parenting Program in 2019 and start with 12 weeks training. And then Family First gave me the chance to join as a parent leadership fellow. And the second year, joined the parent leadership program, and this year as the parent ambassador to mentor other parent fellows. I'm very appreciate this opportunity to see my growth and my change. Thank you, Sharon, for asking this question. I really want to share the difference for me for the past 3 years. And I was an immigrant from China 5 years ago. And when I have I was pregnant when I came to US. So at that time, I have my oldest son, 3 years old. And I'm very, I'm confident with how to teach my son in US I don't have any education experience in US. So at that time, I don't know what to do. And when I saw a fly about parenting in East Boston, I joined this. And during the program, before that, I feel, oh, I lack of a lot of things, especially as parenting in a different country. But after that program, 12 weeks, I thought, no, that's not true. I have the maximum love for my children, and all the parents join the program with me. We are the same. We face the common challenges like screen time or the support from the social system, but we can do our best by keep learning as a parent, because there's no school provide parenting, but we have Family First. And then that's the first year. And then I was the parent leader, and I was lucky to have the chance to join the parent leadership program to facilitate some workshops for alumni and some alumni events in East Boston. And this year, I was honored to mentor some parents in Chelsea area. And we have a Boston Basic program and the Healthy Chelsea program. And I think that was really wonderful experience to see our parents, they empower themselves. At the beginning, most of my fellows, they are like myself, not confident to speak English, and not confident to work with very professional workers, with other organizations. But after the past 1 year, we saw their growth and so confident to host a workshop in Spanish and in English. And they did a lot in the community during the pandemic. To provide information with each other, to even the vaccine, food bank, all the resource they shared. So Family First provided the pathway for me, and I influence other parents, and other parents influence me too. Before I mentioned that to Magda, I'm like an isolated parent, but this year I'm like a cheerleader to cheer up my fellows, and all that is like it's like a meditation moment to make myself release from the pandemic and homeschooling. Thank you so much, Family First, and thank you so much for inviting me to come today. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And for those of you who attended our breakfast last year, Chin was one of our Gail Dublin Award winners as well. So one, I wasn't sure if you are still on and wanted to. If not, we can move on to other questions. I'm not hearing. Oh. No, all right. I will ask, again, we're closing up here soon, so I'll just ask this final question. This is for the program team. You've talked a bit about the impact on parents, but what have you done? Have you found any results about the program's impact on their children specifically?
Yeah, so specifically for the children, we have not been directly looking at the impact to the children, because we are working directly with the parents. And so a lot of the information that we might get about like any child outcomes will be coming from the parents, which research has shown is not necessarily that reliable. And so I know that this is something that the evaluation team would like to do maybe in the future, if we can find a partner who will be doing the measurement maybe with the children. But speaking from just like research, we do know that parents do impact a lot their children, especially in terms of like their parenting, and just some from research, again, just like some child outcomes that we can expect from other parenting research is, children do get better self-regulation skills, which can be brought into other contexts, such as their school and peer interactions. Also, some researchers have found like improved child behavior, improved academic performance, and positive relationship with their peers. And there's a lot more in the research, but those are just some that, we can expect. And hopefully in the future, this is something that we can also look at.
Awesome. Thank you so much. All right. If there are no other questions, this will conclude our leadership luncheon. Again, thank you all so much for joining us on this fantastic Tuesday rainy afternoon. If you have additional questions for us, for any of the speakers, you have contact information. You can also reach out directly to me, and I'm happy to forward those questions along. As one of the people who does do the fundraising, I would like to remind everyone we are closing out our fiscal year. So if you would like to support our programming and expansion efforts, please take a moment to visit our website, families-first.org, for more information on how you can support us and donate. This has been a tremendous year and quite a roller coaster, so we appreciate all of you who have helped us throughout and been such great patrons for us. So thank you so much. Also, please mark your calendars. On October 15th, we will be having our annual breakfast benefit. As I mentioned before, Chin was one of our award winners last year, and we are looking at some fantastic speakers again this year. So please put that on your calendar. It will be a breakfast event. If you are interested about personally or having you or your company be an event sponsor, please contact me directly. And I'd be happy to give you more information on that. If there are no other questions, thank you all so much again. Please enjoy the rest of your afternoon and enjoy the start to summer. So thank you again.